I was watching this video earlier and it allowed me time to think. It allowed me time to talk to myself and figure out what I believed. And honestly, it was a moment that made me feel really happy and really connected with myself. I was watching this video and it made me question why so many people in this world judge so harshly what our world is like. And it made me question why our world is like this right now. Our world has become, not to sugarcoat, a unpleasant place for a lot of us. And of course, there are things in this life that are pleasant and make it worth living. And through that knowing, I also realized that I have recognized that our environments, externally and internally, really do shape us. And it's in more ways than what people might think. And I'm sure there are some out there that know this, but when there's so many people that don't, it's no wonder humanity is where we are right now. So, I figured that the least I could do was relay the message and relay what I've learned twice today. Like, literally. I started off this day trying to do some self care, and I'm proud of myself for that. But then something happened tonight that made me realize that my own words were not only valid, but were something that I needed to hear. And so, if you grow up in a environment that that allows you to thrive, you will thrive in one way or another, regardless of who you are. And if you grow up in an environment that does not allow you to thrive, you will be more prone to do things that we either consider highly immoral or just unpleasant. The video I was watching was about that guy that had killed the CEO. And I'm not gonna lie, I was on the side of the people. Not because killing is justified, because anybody with a conscience knows that killing, period, is wrong. Taking a life in any form can be wrong, period. But listening to what everybody was saying and all the different perspectives, I realized that the perspectives weren't the issue. They were all valid, including my own. And I don't think people realize that the solution to, sorry, the solution to environmental issues we have as a collective and just in general should not be met with a battle of wits. It just shouldn't, because at our core, we are all similar. We're all human. We all have the ability for great good and great evil, which is created, not born, when met with certain environments. It's just that simple. You see it all the time in nature. If the environment is not allowing a creature to thrive, they either adapt to said environment or they die in some form. Take a traumatized dog, for example. If a dog has had negative experiences with humans, of course, they are going to evolve to not trust humans. But in the right environment with the right humans that cultivate a environment of safety and compassion and all these positive things, helps that animal to over time trust again and grow and thrive again. And that's just one example. And this was a sense of knowing for me, but it wasn't until tonight that I realized that I needed to apply that to myself. Or more so, I had to recognize that self-doubt and putting these grandiose expectations of being the best person is not going to help me in the way I want it to. I had a moment tonight that honestly I don't regret. And instead of meeting that with internal, or more so pride, and being or feeling self accomplished, I met it with self doubt. And I didn't realize until tonight how crippling my self doubt has really been. And of course, I've noticed it in different ways, but I didn't realize that it's not a matter of getting rid of self doubt. And it's not a matter of trying to be the best person up here, mentally, logically. It's not about that. What's important is that when I'm trying to be logical, when I'm trying to focus on my mental health, and when I am trying to self-reflect, it doesn't come from a place of either self-hatred, me trying to be self-deprecating, being self-critical, and so many other things that honestly I'm going to have to journal about, because I know it's a lot more than that. Like, I didn't even realize how my environment and my internal and external environment have created this, for lack of a better word, self-doubt environment that has affected so much of my life in the physical and internally. I question my own moral compass, my own character, even when I've proven time and time again that I have chosen to learn from my mistakes, to self reflect, and not only that, choose to understand why I did what I did so I could know why I shouldn't do things that are unpleasant for other people or for me. I didn't realize that until I was I don't know what that was. I didn't realize that until I was faced with someone, and honestly, probably multiple people in my life, and I just didn't pick up on it. But I wasn't aware of this knowing until I was faced with someone who clearly was struggling with being able to self assess enough so that they don't do something that has hurt people. And honestly, might even be hurting themselves. And the crazy thing is, I've been so considerate my whole life, and I didn't even give myself that validation because I made mistakes when I was a child. And it's so unfair to me. And I want people to know that. It's so unfair, especially when you've done the work to not only be a different person, but have also chosen to continue on an upward momentum to be not the best person because we're human, but to just be a self aware person. That's it. Literally. Because, like I've mentioned before, we have the ability for great good and great evil. But self awareness can keep us from doing things that could harm people we care about, including ourselves. And if you don't care about yourself, you should prioritize that. And people we might not even know. Like, I've made it to where I needed to be. And I have to give myself some grace. I have to allow myself to know that the decisions I've made up until this point, whether good or bad, have helped me. And they don't define me. They don't make me any less of a decent person. Because that should just be the goal, that you're decent. It shouldn't be, oh, you have everything externally and everything internally. And I was the person that thought that I had to have this super awareness, that I had to have my internal on point to be worthy of things that I literally have a birthright to. Literally. So it's just, and not only that, my ancestors and our ancestors as a collective have worked way too hard for us to be self-doubting that we're worthy of basic human necessities, like being able to cultivate a safe environment internally and have a safe environment externally. Everyone deserves that. I put myself on this pedestal and I judged myself harshly because I didn't want to be a bad person. I didn't want to be inconsiderate. I didn't want to be the person that projects without reason, or the person that doesn't think before she speaks, or all these other things. And the reason why I felt so deeply about that and why it made me emotional was because I wasn't validating the fact that I've already made it there. I am more considerate than I've ever been. I am my higher self currently. And of course, there's still work to do, but I've done so much work that has gotten me to where I need to be. And I couldn't see that. I couldn't, or more so, I wasn't given the right environment to know that that is true. And for anybody out there that is dealing with crippling self-doubt and questioning if they're a decent person or not, or questioning why people do bad things, I'm telling you right now, you just haven't had the right environment or the right support or the right access to what you need to learn certain things. So if you don't understand something, just know as long as you are prioritizing being on the path of self-discovery, self-healing, and all these other words that start with self that are positive. We're not doing self-sabotage over here. We gotta nip that in the bud. But if you're on that path, the universe will help you learn the lessons you need to learn. And not only that, you will. And I didn't realize this. Like, I didn't realize that it's not only just about, relying on this universal thing to help me be a better person, when in all actuality, it really is a co-creation between the divine, the universe, God, whatever you believe in, and ourselves. We have more power than we give ourselves credit for. And people that have this overly confident, cocky, arrogant sense of self, that's not power. That might be a mixture of fear and anxiety, and you're just putting on this layer, putting on this armor that you don't need, that's actually doing more harm for you and the people around you. Like, it doesn't make you a bad person, but self-awareness really is key. And if you notice that there are some traits that you dislike, you're on the right path. Like, you are on the path to creating a deeper sense of self-awareness that will help you create the foundations and the stability you need to be a decent person in this life. And if you lack that, there's a reason. And it is up to you to choose to discover that reason. Because the moment you choose, the single moment, it can be as simple as you saying it. You don't have to even act. The moment you make it aware, or you make yourself aware, or something brings awareness to you, and you choose to listen to it, understand it, and follow it, you've already become a way more better person than you were prior to that moment. Literally, it was in the same exact room that has clearly evolved, not just externally, but energetically, because I have too. I had one moment where I decided to listen to my humanity and choose to not only take care of myself, but choose to listen to that awareness, listen to that guidance, whatever you want to call it. And that single moment has got me here. It takes one moment. And I don't think people realize the gravity of that one moment and how much that can change your life. And as far as environments go, on a collective scale, I think our biggest problem right now, and the reason why some people might not have the space to work on the internal, which is so vital for being a decent person, is because our external messes with our internal, even when we're working on it. Literally, what has happened to me? So, if we can all just come together and collectively put aside our wits, our individualism, and just come from a place of, hey, we're all human. We all have humanity, which comes with a lot, right? But because we all have that, it is our duty collectively to choose to prioritize an environment that benefits us all. Not because we want to gain something from it for ourselves, but because if it benefits everybody, it benefits everybody. Literally. Like, for example, if everybody on this planet had the shelter we need, the support we need mentally and emotionally, and the ability to sustain ourselves without struggle, which triggers us to be in survival mode, there would be less issues related to people being unpleasant, because now the internal, or not internal, not the external environment can cultivate the ability to work on the internal. If you're not stressing about your humanly your human birthright and all that entails, it allows you to self reflect. And that's just one way you can cultivate that. But if people, for example, I was saying something before when I was watching a video about how, oh, that's what it was. Think about the people that you despise, whether they're fictional or they actually exist. And think about the people you think are the absolute worst. It can be anybody, even yourself. Think that far, right? Now, think about what would happen if all the biggest stressors were out of your life in your youth and currently. And the stressors I'm talking about are like things we all collectively need that we should not be fighting over because we all have a birthright to it. Like support and the ability to sustain our physical bodies. Those are things that should not be negotiated. It's a human birthright. It's a birthright for any being that is alive. Period. Take somebody like Ted Bundy. Everybody knows that name, and if you don't, he was a serial killer, right? It is completely valid to hate someone like that, to fear someone like that, to have anxiety about people like that. Those are all valid. the thing that I feel like a lot of people might be missing is that Ted Bundy is human. He's not some demon. He's not some foreign entity or an alien. And being the type of people to push away people like that and not associate it with humanity is part of the problem that has created people like him. It's not about shunning the evil in our world. It's about addressing it, addressing where it stems from, and coming from a place of compassion for the humanity that can create evil. If Ted Bundy had the environment that would allow him to thrive, I guarantee you 100% he would not have made the decisions he made. And I'll admit, I don't know everything about Ted Bundy's life. I don't. But I know on a human level, on a earthly level, when creatures are put in the right environment, they thrive. They thrive. And it's not just about Ted Bundy. If his family was put in the right environment to thrive, they would be better parents, which means he would have a better childhood. And if he had a better childhood, he would probably have a stronger moral compass that would be able to keep at bay the evil that kills people, hurts people. And of course, people are going to consider, like, okay, what if it's psychological? Even people that psychologically have issues or different abilities or are a part of the dark triad, those traits would not be as prominent. I guarantee you, if they had the right environment internally, that or externally, and if they did have the right external environment, it cultivates a better internal. And with the better internal, you can literally cultivate a decent life for yourself. And not only yourself, but it also branches out to everyone around you. And that's not to justify killing. Like I've mentioned before, that's still wrong. Anybody with a consciousness knows what's right and what's wrong on a moral scale, right? We shouldn't have to debate about that. It's a knowing we have as a collective. That's not the problem. Again, back to the battle of wits. We don't have to focus on that because we know this. There's enough of us that know that. That's not the problem. With the right environment, even the worst people could become the best people. Just as I could have easily made a decision that could have changed how I am today, it's the same for everybody on this planet. Literally. And if I didn't have the environment that I had as a kid, even though to some extent it was unpleasant and unfair, if I didn't have the environment of support and my family that actually wanted me to thrive and or gave me the stability as far as being able to sustain myself, I would not be who I am today. That's proven in human history. It's literally proven. And it doesn't, and you don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand that. You don't. If we had a better external environment, then we could focus on our internal. If everybody didn't have to worry about food, water, bills, shelter, support, mental health, emotional health, physical health, if we didn't have to worry about that, then yeah, we can argue about our individualistic abilities. We can have debates about our wits and what's right and what's wrong. And we can talk about the grandiose questions about our mortality and life, etc., etc. But you know what? There are a lot of people that do know this and they use it against us. And that does feel unfair. It does. But that does not justify you taking the path of evil to combat that. It's literally like that saying of like when you fight fire with fire, it just creates a bigger fire. It does not put out the flames. It doesn't. Whatever the flames may be, it does not get rid of it when you fight fire with fire. It's okay and it's valid to feel, but use those feelings to feel your path towards self-discovery. And once you get to a point where you're self-aware enough to not only hear your moral compass, but to also use that as a guide, whether you believe it's just internal or you believe it's the universe or whatever, once you get to that point, pass it on. That's how we fix things. We have to make people more aware. Especially nowadays, we have the ability to do that. And even me, I didn't think I could do YouTube because I thought it had to be this grandiose thing of like, oh, people won't like me because of how I look, or people won't like the video because of plethora of reasons. But you know what? That's fine. That's human nature. You don't have to like me. But I know that what I'm saying comes from a place of wanting to help people, wanting to give this energy out because I know how much it's benefited me. And it would be an injustice to not relay the message.